What's good, YouTube, and welcome back to the Soulblaze YouTube channel. You're watching your boy Soulblaze, and of course, as you can see, we are in the full cam, and that is because today, sadly, we have to do a post commentary. But before you click off the video, let me explain the hype around this matchup. It is WPF quarterfinals, baby. And then you might be asking, why are you doing a post com of a quarterfinals? Well, it's because this was played and recorded while I was away on vacation to my very, very good friend Forza's house. He lives in the Netherlands. Me and my fiance took the trip down there for almost 2 weeks. We had a blast, we had a great time, but that also means, you know, doing the stressful thing that is playing and recording while away. So I managed to get the footage. There's no sound, no nothing. You guys obviously hear the music, but nothing else than that in this commentary here today. So hopefully now we're going to be locking in with this matchup. We're going to be locking in with the quarterfinals of the WPF. The stakes could not be higher, and we're here to try and win it all. So let's get into it. Here we go with today's matchup. I can actually maybe even make my cam kind of smaller here. Hold on. Live editing. Yee-hee. Okay, yeah, you see it's Mega Floette. So on our side, we have Mega Floette, Archaludon, Caesar, Pelipper, Heliolisk, and Sableye. On the opposing end, you see Rotom Frost, regular Kangaskhan, Gallade, Volcarona, Mega Frostlass, and Basculegion. And this lead setup took me so long to figure out in prep. I had help from my fiance, I had help from Forza. I tried to figure it out myself. I asked a bunch of my friends. So for this prep help, I would like to thank Merkit, Ducky, and JK, the Bongo Man. You guys are crazy, and you guys have been supporting me so far in this journey, helping me figure out everything. I normally don't like to have like an official front office thing, but my boys came in clutch this week and helped me out big time with the prep. The main thing that I was worried about was the Volcarona Frostlass lead, being able to click a Rage Powder turn 1 and me not being able to stop him from setting up Aurora Veil. However, we figured out a possible solution with the Caesar and the Sableye lead. So, as you can see here, in this footage, we're going to be leading the Sableye and the Caesar. However, it is not Volcarona Mega Frostlass, it is Volcarona Kangaskhan. But we prepped super hard for the Volcarona Mega Frostlass. And so if we take a look at the moves here, you have Foul Blade, Disable Encore, Rain Dance. So the whole play was to make sure that Volcarona doesn't click Flamethrower on the Caesar, but also doesn't click Rage Powder, so I can't, you know, do something into the like for Bullet Punch into Frostlass. Obviously, Rage Powder redirects it. I could get my Flame Body proc that's very disastrous. So this is a speedy Caesar being able to hopefully outspeed a slower Volcarona, bulkier Volcarona. That would make sense in this matchup to hopefully one-shot it with Dual Wing Beat, where Flame Body would proc once, and then Dual Wing Beat, the Lumberry would take the burn away once and kill it on the second hit and hopefully not get burned. That was the idea. And by going this lead, I was thinking that if I click Protect, Volcarona can't Flamethrower me, and obviously Rage Powder doesn't really do anything, and then obviously I could click Priority Rain Dance, taking away Frostlass's Mega Frostlass's Snow Warning ability, being rendering Aurora Veil ineffective, not being able to help. And then for the turn after, Rain would be up. Caesar would probably still die to a Flamethrower, but then I could disable that Flamethrower. If it is a Rage Powder, then the disable still goes on to the Rage Powder, and Caesar can click Dual Wing Beat and hopefully be faster and kill. That was the whole idea in the setup. Super complicated. We did a bunch of prep for that. I had to figure it out like crazy, but this is what came instead. And the plan, although Caesar's part of the plan kind of sticks around here. As you can see, it's Kangaskhan and Volcarona in the lead. Kangaskhan puts on the fake out pressure. So obviously Caesar's idea to protect doesn't really change because now I can both stop the ongoing flamethrower, but I could also make sure that I don't get fake out flinched. And then at the same time, I get to see what Volcarona wants to click, and I get to do something with Sableye here. I can click Foul Play into Kangaskhan. I can click Rain Dance. It's kind of hard to click Disable or Encore before you've seen anything. But of course, I'm willing to let Sableye get fake outed here by the scrappy Kangaskhan, as long as Caesar doesn't get hit. So Kangaskhan does not go for the fake out onto the Sableye. It goes into the Protect. Sableye gets the Rain Dance up. And Volcarona uses Tailwind. So Tailwind is now set up. I also wonder if I could actually speed this up somehow. I wonder if I can. Video. Speed. Haha. I can do 1.5 times. Okay. So it sets up the Tailwind. And so now, obviously, it's faster than me. But I can dual Wing Beat into the Volcarona slot because I have Prankster Encore. I can Encore it into the Tailwind, making sure that it can't use Flamethrower on my Caesar, which would still kill through Rain. And if it also makes sure that if he does use Rage Powder, then he's Encored into only using Rage Powder, also turning off the fire pressure for Caesar. And it lets me scout what Kangaskhan wants to do. And if it's Kangaskhan Fire Punch, that I do live, because it's not Stab. So we get to scout what Kangaskhan does, and we get to put on the pressure with this dual Wing Beat here. So that's the main idea. Yeah. Him sensing that I want to Encore is going to swap out into Basculegion. So the Encore is rendered ineffective. However, he does reveal Last Resort. This tells me, if you know how Last Resort works, it tells you the full Kangaskhan set, because Last Resort is a move that only works if you've clicked every other move in your arsenal. It's only clicked Fake Out and Last Resort went off, meaning that Fake Out, Last Resort is the only two moves on this Kangaskhan, making Sableye's Disable Encore really strong into this matchup, because obviously it can hurt me, but still I can, once it's clicked Fake Out, I could Encore it into Fake Out, rendering it incapable of using Last Resort. And if it's using Last Resort, I can disable Last Resort, meaning it has no further moves it can use, leading to struggle. So basically, Sableye can at any point in the game, or it will get faked out by the scrappy fake out, but after that, it can basically render Kangaskhan completely useless. So that's a strong information on game one here. Caesar taking half its HP for that information is well worth, and we still get a hit off on Basculegion coming in with the dual Wing Beat. Rain is, however, up, which is super scary. Look at that damage. Like, that's non-stab technician. Like, it's basically just stab. Dual Wing Beat. Super strong. Super, super strong. So here, I am contemplating what to do. I could obviously click Protect for the Basculegion to target me. There's also a case for wanting to swap out into Archelodon, which is what I believe I do here, to be able to proc the stamina and be resisted to the water move. It's not going to click Last Respects because it doesn't have any teammates fainted yet. And of course I do go for rendering the Kangaskhan useless with Disable, because now it can't use Last Resort. It stayed in, so now it has to struggle. It does target the Sableye and get the kill with Wave Crash, but Archelodon is in, Basculegion is low, and Kangaskhan is useless. I can also start to set up Electroshots in the Rain here, which is pretty solid for my strategy. Obviously Archelodon is in, we can't select that. So I am opting to go into Gulliver here. I believe, yes, I believe I want to get up a Tailwind of my own, because I know that Basculegion can't kill me in one hit, and I want to match his Tailwind, which will also extend to after his Tailwind is gone. Over potentially, like, bullet punching the Basculegion could also be a strat, but then of course switching into Volcarona on that slot could be very bad. And if I don't bullet punch, then obviously I put Caesar at risk for Wave Crash, so that's why we don't go Caesar there. I do get an Electro Shot off, and we do kill the Basculegion. We are currently at +1 special attack in the Rain. So his Tailwind peters out and mine is still active, meaning that both Pelipper and Archaludon should have no trouble outspeeding this Volcarona. However, there is now fake out pressure on the board again. Knowing he can't fake out both, I do go for targeting the Volcarona down. I believe I also click Weather Ball here because Weather Ball is stronger than Hurricane. And either I get a +1 Electro Shot off, he fakes out the Archaludon, which increases my stamina. But then I get this Water type Weather Ball onto this Volcarona, getting the kill. And now, of course, Kangaskhan is only reduced to clicking Last Resort. My Tailwind is still active, meaning both of my Mons outspeed it. So here comes Gallade, and the rain has stopped, which is unfortunate, but because now Hurricane is not 100% accurate. Then, of course, Sacred Sword could ignore my stamina boosts, be super effective, be sharpness boosted, and completely nuke my Archaludon. So we know Last Resort is the move on the other slot, but we also fear the Sacred Sword here. We do outspeed, but it is something that we have to take into consideration. So I do want to target the Gallade with the Hurricane and the Kangaskhan with the Aura Sphere, because I know I outspeed the Kangaskhan. And so he does protect with his Gallade, which is gives me advantage at least, because it's not a turn that he's clicking Sacred Sword into the Arch. So we've reduced this to be only Gallade left, and I know I have Tailwind up still, so I can go for a hit with both of my Mons. I click Weather Ball into non-rain boosted here because I know that I would miss Hurricane, and this would be more than enough damage even if our Archaludon goes down for Caesar to come in and pick up the pieces with Bullet Punch. Because now Gallade could outspeed Pelipper and kill it, but it can't target both of these Mons at once. So Bullet Punch goes before everything, and Weather Ball neutral should secure the deal in game 1. But that is a very, very complicated lead sequence, kind of broken down by the Caesar and the Sableye lead. Going into game 2, I saw he had a very active Basculegion, which I was very scared of, and I also thought about the potential fact that Rotom could be showing its face, so I wanted to go for a little switch up. I still go for my lead, but I bring the Heliolisk this time in hopes to neuter that Basculegion or render it useless, pretty much. Like it could have Psychic Fangs to hurt me, which is a 2-hit KO, but at least it's kind of locked into using that move, and it could kind of become very annoying for Basculegion. So as we can see, Rotom is showing its face here. It can put on pressure with the Blizzard. It could be Volt switching around. It could be annoying. It could try and even go for like a switch out or protect Discharge. Discharge is not that likely here because Basculegion is on the field, but I know I have to switch one of my slots into Caesar because of the Basculegion. So I protect and switch in the Heliolisk here. He goes for a Volt switch into the Protect, which doesn't work out, and double targets the Caesar slot with the Soak as well. This leads me to believe that Basculegion would be faster than Rotom, because you obviously want the Soak to change to Water, and then you want the Electric type attack to go. So it kind of makes me think that he would make it faster, but at the same time, if we go back, can we actually see? I don't think I picked up this in the moment, but Volt Switch went off first, right? Volt Switch did go off first. Rotom is naturally speedier than the Basculegion, so that makes sense. It doesn't necessarily say anything about who's scarfed or not, but this Basculegion right here clicking Soak does lead me to believe that Basculegion is at least not Scarf. So as you can see, I have Thunder and Weather Ball. This Weather Ball is also to get Ice coverage, because this changes into an Ice type move if he was to bring the Mega Garchomp. he would be immune to my Thunder, but if he goes for the Aurora Veil and tries to set up the Snow, then at least I would have coverage with Ice-type Weather Ball, and I still have decent water coverage if Rain is up. Here I don't have Weather, so I have an inaccurate Thunder, I have a Weather Ball that does nothing, and I have to... I could try and go for a faster Rock Slide Flinch strat. So my options with this Heliolisk, though it is in front of a Basculegion, is quite heavily reduced, because we know now that obviously the Basculegion is not going to target the Heliolisk, so he swaps it out. I thought it was going to be targeting the Caesar, so I went into Archaludon to take the hit and get the stamina. But Volt switches on the Archaludon and sadly does get a really strong critical hit and swaps out the Rotom. I'm thinking it could go back to Basculegion, but chose the fourth member in the back, which is the Gallade. So now it's Gallade, Kangaskhan, Rotom, and Basculegion. So we know there's no Mega Frostlass here. We can play around that. We don't have a Pelipper, but still something to be considerate of. We do get a Thunder Off on the Kangaskhan for decent damage, but that's kind of where it ends. I also recognize that I do want to have the Helios alive. There is Fake Out pressures, and I don't protect on this Fake Out pressure, so you could double that slot, but yeah, I click in case he doesn't Fake Out that slot. Does go for the Sacred Sword, wanting to hit the Archaludon, does go into the Sableye, and does 0 damage. I know I'm faster here with the Heliolisk, so I know I could go for like a damage type attack. I know that Gallade is probably going to want to target the Heliolisk this time, because it probably doesn't have anything super good to target the Sableye. I also figured there is... Oh, yeah. Okay, so I do go for the Protect. Yeah, it does double into the Heliolisk. I do get a Foul Play off on that. I actually forgot this turn, yeah. I thought I just straight Thunder because I was faster, but I did go for a Protect, figuring a double. I do get very good mileage there. And now I can also go back to neutering the Kangaskhan, rendering it completely useless by clicking Disable. I do miss this Thunder, which would have killed this Gallade, and I do die by Sacred Sword, which is very bad because Heliolisk does do very good into the remaining members. It completely, at that range, I believe it lives the Psychic Fangs from the Adamant Basculegion, and barely, and I think it, like, if Rotom is not Scarf, Rock Slide is a really good tool to pressure flinches with. I still have Protect to be able to bait pressure and stick around. And of course, I could also potentially, knowing that Basculegion is not Scarf, I can try and get it out the way with Thunder. And if Rotom is Scarf, then I could still try and make it click into the Heliolisk, like Volt Switch with Protect, Sableye especially defensive, so I think it's specially defensive, so it should be, yeah, especially defensive for the Frostlass Volcarona strategy in case they both just attack. So very unfortunate there. This Thunder, like the crit on Archaludon is one thing, but missing a KO and getting KO'd in return is very influential for this game, because now I don't have my Basculegion answer for the end game, and I can't go Archaludon because the Sacred Sword could put me out of business, and Gallade is probably invested in speed, my Archaludon is not, so we can't really do that. Now I want to put on some pressure. I know Kangaskhan is going to swap out, and I want to pressure this Gallade. The question is, how am I going to do it? Because there is something in the back. I click Encore here, and it did click Sacred Sword last time. I figured this is a misplay in hindsight, because it's still just going to click the Sacred Sword we live on 3, right? And get the dual Wing Beat off. But the problem is, if I click Disable, then it would probably use another move like Psycho Cut, and I think it would even get its turn completely annulled, which would give Caesar some health for the Basculegion and the Rotom in the endgame. However, even if that is the case, even if I do not misplay here and click Encore, I still think we lose, because Basculegion, like, let's say I get past Gallade and have a healthy Caesar. The problem was the Heliolisk, because the Basculegion will get Last Respects boost from the teammates dying, like Galley dying, so I don't think my Caesar can live a boosted last respect in the in-game. However, Heliolisk would completely neuter that and still be around, so very, very unfortunate here that I get unlucky and fall behind, and then I also make a crucial misplay here in game 2. Goes Kangaskhan, fake out pressure is again on the board. I figure I just protect. I don't have protect on this, so he could fake out, but I am specially defensive. So I could potentially go for something here. I get my rain up because I want the Archaludon in the end game to have Electroshot. It needs it to kill Basculegion, or else it's impossible to kill Basculegion. And it goes for Volt Switch into this Basque. This is a scenario where I'm thinking Bullet Punch into Kangaskhan as I'm hovering here is pretty obvious. But I'm also thinking that Kangaskhan might swap out because it doesn't want to stay in and get neutered again by Sableye. Sableye can obviously click something to lock it into being useless, so I figured it was just not going to stay in. And I'll double target the Basque instead. However, Basque goes first and gets rid of the Sableye, which, you know, me clicking a damaging move would make that happen, and then that also doesn't neuter the Kangaskhan, leading to a double KO in this scenario. So that's again a misplay on my part where I don't neuter the Kangaskhan and I don't go for Bullet Punch Chip. However, even if that's the case, Kangaskhan would still be around, just forced to swap. Could also swap the Basculegion spot, but goes for a Soak into Last Resort, which does very good damage since I don't have a stamina boost and it's now neutral. And we do Electroshot to get our special attack up and try and get rid of this Basculegion. However, this endgame is pretty dead lost because I am now a water type and there's an electric type incoming, and I have no support for this Archaludon. I have no way to redirect it. I have no way to stop this Rotom from clicking an electric type attack into me. Like I do min-max, I do click protect, right, to get around the leftovers in case whatever miracle should happen, in case he misclicks or whatever. But as you can see, does click Last Resort, does click Thunder, and Kangaskhan also will do insane damage to this thing because of Last Resort being neutral. So I'm hoping for a misclick or some kind of miracle here. Thunder in the Rain doesn't miss, so it doesn't happen. And my opponent takes it away in game 2. So very well played to my opponent. Also a little unlucky on my part, and also a little misplay on my part. We go to game 3. So I figure that in this game 3, in game 1, Basculegion was there and Heliolisk was not, and I was still able to win the exchange. So I'm thinking that Heliolisk, it also has to be with Pelipper or Rain has to be up, which forces Sableye to prioritize supporting it instead of locking down the opponent with Disable Encore. So for me, I think that I do want to leave Heliolisk behind this time. I switch up my lead. I actually go Archaludon and the Sableye first. And this is in hopes that Basculegion is going to lead. And it does lead. And the nice part about this is that I can try and go for... seeing that Kangaskhan wants to fake out the Sableye, I can try and get a surprise Electroshot off by switching in Pelipper, activating the Rain, and getting my Electroshot boost. While also making sure that Sableye stays healthy and doesn't get... You know, I figure that Basculegion wants to target down the Sableye as well. So Fake Out does come out, activates the Stamina, which is also good for the Basculegion that's on the field. Wave Crash goes into the Pelipper. It does about half. And Basculegion takes some recoil. So Archaludon can't move, but it did gain a stamina boost here. And I did activate my Weather and the Rain. So now I'm kind of considering if I should Aura Sphere the Kangaskhan or if I should Electroshot the Basculegion. I figure even if he swaps out the Basculegion, we still get the +1. And we're still a Steel type. So even if he does click Last Resort, it should be fine. So he goes for Soak here, which just changed my typing into Water, and Last Resort goes into the Pelipper slot. So not into the +1 stamina, which then would go back to being a resist and add another stack of stamina. I probably would do around maybe half or something. So we do get this huge Electro Shot off and kill the Basket Legion and get our special attack up, but we trade our Rain Setter for it. But in the back we also have Sableye, which now can come out and neuter this Kangaskhan again, render it completely useless. But I also have to keep in mind that I'm now a Water type for this Rotom. So for me, it's an obvious protect because he's going to want to click the Electric type attack into the Archelon, and I can also disable the Kangaskhan at the same time, making sure that Last Resort doesn't work. So he clicks Thunder because it's raining, obviously, and Last Resort does not work. So now it all comes down to if this Rotom is Scarf. I'm going to pause the video here and you guys can try and figure it out. If this Rotom is Scarf, then obviously Sableye can click Disable and make it go for not a move at all, and then I can take it out with an Aura Sphere. Or it's not Scarf and I click Disable on the Thunder, it goes for a different Electric type attack, one-shotting Archelon and staying alive. So the whole game comes down to this scenario right here in Game 3. It's a super crucial pivotal moment. As far as I'm aware, I have no intel on whether or not this Rotom is Scarf. The only intel I have is the item on the other members. Not having a Choice Scarf on Basket Legion means that Rotom could be potentially Choice Scarf. However, based on the turn order and how everything's been happening, I don't think that there has been a moment that has revealed Rotom's item. It could be Magnet, it could be Choice Scarf. So it all comes down to this play. It's basically a very risky play for me to bank on that this is Scarf. And if I don't predict it to be Scarf, then I'm still, I can kind of try and get away by resetting Archelon's typing back to Steel and Dragon, and then coming in and going for Electro Shots later. I still have range support with Sableye, so we can still get that train up and running. So it's really, really game defining here. And definitely when playing this game, I have no idea that this Rotom is Scarf, but that is what I'm banking on. So I click Disable, leaving my Archelon open to get attacked, banking on that it's Scarf. Thunder is disabled, revealing that it was Scarf, and getting the kill with Aura Sphere. So our super risky play worked out in our favor, and we got a kill for it. The beauty about this Gallade right here coming in right now for me is that my Archelon is no longer weak to Sacred Sword. So even if it does, yes, it does ignore the Sacred Sword does ignore the stamina boost that I have, but I now survive crucially enough because I do have the stamina boosts. And if you want to fake out, it doesn't matter. Fake out still does not. Fake out into Sacred Sword still doesn't kill me because I'm a water type now. So I live this. JK, I don't. The Sacred Sword crit actually matters like crazy. I don't die to that. What's it called? I don't die to that Sacred Sword. If the yeah, there's another misplay. So I don't die to that Sacred Sword if it's not a crit, and obviously we just win the game on the spot. That crit actually gives him a chance, because now it comes down to what does my opponent click. I figured that he cannot click Protect on Gallade, because my Sableye could obviously just encore him into the Protect the turn after. So he's kind of stuck. He can't click Protect. So I feel like that's a free bullet punch. But on my Sableye here, I click the wrong move. This Kangaskhan has used Fake Out, but it has not used Last Respects yet. So the move that I'm disabling is not Last Resort anymore, that I've been used to disabling. It hasn't gone for the move I want to disable yet, which is Last Resort. So now I've basically just disabled the Fake Out it already has used, and now I can't disable the Last Resort, meaning that Kangaskhan is an active Pokemon in this endgame, which is a huge mistake by me. Instead of just encoring the Kangaskhan into the Fake Out and rendering it useless, and then going for bullet punch on Gallade, pretty much sealing the deal. Now last resort crit is on the table. Gallade, however, is pretty much out the picture because it can never move, because I lock it into either protecting against the bullet punch and then encoring into that protect, or it just dies to the bullet punch straight up. So, but this Kangaskhan in this endgame, if it gets off enough last resorts and gets a crit on Caesar, then this game can be wraps. So as you can see, I disabled this Kangaskhan, and the fake out is disabled, and it can still go for last resort. And I panic, I realize my mistake, and I search up if I can still disable the other move. I figure out by searching it up that I cannot. So I'm forced to attack here. Encore doesn't help because he's wanting to use his only move anyway. So I figure that I have to just risk that the crit does not take me out and go for foul play and hope that's enough. The last resort does not crit, so we do get a brick break off here in combination with the foul play, and the bullet punch follow up would seal the deal if foul play was not enough. But that was scary because that crit could have made it come down to an endgame. However, after the game, my opponent told me that the Kangaskhan, actually he forgot to put Scrappy on it. So even if that Kangaskhan does crit that Caesar and comes down to an endgame versus Sableye, we still win because he has no way to hit the Sableye, and foul play would take him out after 2 turns. So that endgame was sealed still, but it was because due to an oversight of my opponent, and my opponent played this best of 3 series very, very well. Very sophisticated play with Tailwind, Volcarona, and Scarf Rotom, and Fake Out Last Resort Kangaskhan, which I think the Fake Out Last Resort Kangaskhan did give me some leeway in the matchup because Sableye was able to lock it down consistently and give me advantage. However, it did do insane amounts of damage when left unchecked. So we win the quarterfinals in WPF, and we move on to the semifinals. I'm super happy. I played this in the Netherlands. It was not on my usual setup. I couldn't search things up as fast. I literally could not do any calcs while playing this. I had to do this calculus because it would be too much switching tabs back and forth. I had to make sure that the gameplay was being recorded and everything. So really, really happy with this result. Very well played, and GG's to my opponent. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys for WPF semifinals, baby. I think that's the furthest we've ever been in a WPF season. So super excited to play that, and I'll see you guys there. This has been your boy Soulblaze, and as always, take care of yourself, take care of your family. Peace out.